Good day, everyone. We all welcome you to Nexusguard's panel discussion titled DDoS Protection from Zero to Hero. This year, Nexusguard have experienced multiple hundred gigabits of DDoS attack traffic, making it almost a norm in our daily operations. It is not an easy journey for us, and we would like to share our experience to all of you to be made aware on what may possibly be encountered towards your services and your online assets. So today, we are opening up the floor to our dear participants, raising different questions about what you have for DDoS protection or DDoS mitigation services. So we do understand the need of enablement. Therefore, we have brought in our panel of experts from Nexusguard to share their insights and expertise as we prepare for the bigger battle. We would be joined by our technical consultant, Ms. Aurelia Budiharjo, to share our 2023 first half DDoS attack report. And with her would be our Director for Pre-Sales, Services and Security Operations, Ms. Vanessa Chen, our Security Operations Manager, Mr. Norman Di Pasqua, and our Technical Consulting Manager, Mr. Charles Kendall. We hope for the participation of our audience and rest assured that we will try to respond to all of your questions. So if ever that there will be questions that we won't be able to answer, we will post our answers online and we will make it available through our help center. So without further ado, I would like to pass the stage to Ms. Aurelia to officially start today's activity and embark on the journey of being heroes against DDoS attacks. Aurelia?
Thank you, Sir Mandy, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. So Nexusguard has published the DDoS statistical report for the first half year of 2023. Here is some of the data extracted from the report. Comparing the first half year of 2023 with the second half year of 2022, the total attack count decreased by 70.95%. However, it is interesting to see that the average attack size increased by 183.33%, recorded at 0.68 gigabit per second. Compared to the second half year of 2022, the maximum attack size decreased by 30.92%, with the largest attack size peaking at 250 gigabit per second. Comparing the first half year of 2023 to the first half year of 2022, amplification attacks rose by 176.88%. Meanwhile, application attacks is increased by 15% in the same period. However, the frequencies of those attacks in the first half year of 2023 were not as high as what were recorded in the second half year of 2022. It will be interesting to see how the numbers would change once we conclude the second half year of 2023. NTP amplification, HTTPS flood, and memcached attacks were the top 3 attacks registered in the first half year of 2023, contributing 28.32%, 21.21%, and 14.93% respectively. NTP amplification is a type of DDoS attack that spoofs a victim's IP and exploits an open network time protocol or NTP server to flood the victim with NTP responses. HTTPS flood is a layer 7 DDoS attack which attempts to exhaust server resources by generating volumetric HTTPS requests or sessions. Meanwhile, memcached attacks take advantage of vulnerable memcached servers to generate amplified traffic, with an amplification factor can be as high as 51,000 times. For more details, visit Nexusguard website to download the full report. Simply go to the Resources tab, click on DDoS Statistical Report, and select the report that you would like to see. On our website, you can also find insightful case studies, white papers, and blog articles written by our Nexusguard team based on extensive research and actual experience in the DDoS protection field. Now, let me pass the floor back to our moderator and panelists. Sir Mandy, back to you.
Thank you, Aurelia. The numbers that you have shown have been alarming, particularly in the size of the attack and in terms of the amplification factor, which we're talking about 51,000 times. I believe that is no joke. And I think this is a good session that this is one of the topics in terms of the session that we would be having today. So, how about let's proceed with our panelists. So, in the past couple of months, we have gathered questions for our panelists from various partners and clients globally. Okay, so today we will be answering those questions, and we'll be picking up the brains of our panelists to give their insights and share with us what are the trends, what's happening in the global space, and how are we going to manage accordingly using Nexusguard's platform. So let me start off with one of the top frequently asked question in terms of what is the latest trend and what has Nexusguard seen when it comes to the evolution of DDoS attacks? For this question, I'll start off with Vanessa.
Sure, I can pick up that part. Earlier, Aurelia already shared our annual report and for the first half year of 2023. And she has some statistic of comparing to last year, what is the frequency of attack as well as the volume of attack. I guess from my angle is more to share with the audience the type of attack that frequently being asked by all the potential customer that come to Nexusguard for inquiry of DDoS protection. And so in general, all of the customers are expecting protection of all type of attack. And you can name them all: volumetric protection, multi-vector type of attack, application protection. And their expectation is you need to protect me from all those attacks, including zero-day attack as well. But in general, we are seeing some trend coming from the service provider, having a lot of inquiry towards the carpet bombing attack. And carpet bombing attack no longer a new type of attack. It was discovered back in 2018 by Nexusguard. And after that, there are a lot of service providers start to see those type of attack. And the symptom of those attack is there are a lot of target within the network block being attacked by DDoS attack. But the attack size is really under the detection radar for an individual IP. And therefore, the service provider is not able to pick it up from their detection system. And yet they are seeing some impact on their bandwidth. And so these are the type of attack that come to us a lot from the service provider. And from enterprise, we are seeing inquiries still all wrap around memcache attack, NTP flooding, UDP flooding type of attack, kind of align with our DDoS report. And there's another area that often being inquired is about zero-day attack and how provider like Nexusguard deal with this type of a DDoS attack. Yeah, so those are the insight from all the potential customers that we are seeing. Yeah, pass back to you, Mandy.
Thank you, Vanessa. Charles, do you have anything to add on to this?
Yeah, I can go on more about the carpet bombing attacks. One of the unique kind of things we're seeing more of is that a lot of these attacks are also short bursts. Meaning that the entire attack is like 5 to 10 minutes long, sometimes even 3 minutes. These attacks often aren't just a single class C, they'll be an entire seeder. So it might be like a /20 or 23, depending on what you're advertising to your upstreams. They'll go over the entire prefix. Again, a lot of times we're seeing the attack is only 3 minutes. So when you're using detection, If you're using normal or smart, this takes a minimum of like 3 minutes in order to be able to detect, because we're looking for it to exceed the bandwidth thresholds or the packets per second thresholds over a 3-minute average. For some of these attacks, if you start noticing you're getting them, I would probably stick to normal under or smart under most conditions, because it keeps the false positives down. But you might need to go to rapid mode for attacks that are 3 minutes or less. The advantages, you can pick up an attack with a matter of seconds, because it's based on it. As soon as that traffic is going to average that bandwidth over the full minute, it'll trigger in the alert. Some things you need to be aware of is that your net flow, you need to make sure that it's set so it updates you within a minute for any closed or open connections. These source IPs are often not within your home country. They might be spread across the world when they're coming in. One issue, if you're using like edge protection or info protector, or even OP, where you have to swing and do the BGP convergence, because these attacks are 3 minutes, a lot of times by the time it's detected and it's swung over, because BGP convergence can take a couple of minutes in order to move the traffic over to, for example, the Nexusguard cloud, this may take too long. So for these scenarios, if you really need to get into them, this is where having a bastion or an on-site device works best, because that can keep you don't have to worry about the BGP convergence. You can do the rapid mode. You can keep it down to the specifics on how low, how specific you need to be. Again, for the rapid, you're going to want to go above your burst mode, because you don't want to detect it on the normal burst if it's just something going through. Okay, so with the bastion or an on-site device, you can keep that convergence down. Another thing is that we have another option is DC over IX. If you can't do the bastion, this keeps the traffic a lot closer. It's a lot of times to an IX that you might have within the country that we also are using, and this can keep a direct connection that we can possibly keep that connection down. When you do the mitigation, you're going to be looking at the Class C based, and again, these types of attacks can be NTP, DNS flood, TCP flood, or any different types, and it can keep switching around to different types while it's doing these types of attacks.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Now that we have a view of the trend, how about we look at it from an impact perspective, right? Seems like when we talk about bits and pieces, short burst, large scale, definitely this would bring a different type of impact, or it would just definitely easily exhaust our resources. So in terms of impact, what are those that we are looking at? As of course, as DDoS attacks evolve, impacts would be of a bigger scale, or bigger or affect a bigger on a wider impact in terms of our network infrastructure. And this is not just particular to CSPs. Of course, it will also happen to different business sectors. So, Vanessa, what are your thoughts on this? Have this also changed through the years, or are we seeing anything new?
So the impact, the DDoS attack evolved, right, over the days, and the purpose of the attack is really to bring down the service itself, and that's why we call the DDoS protection is to ensure the network availability. And so for the impact itself, over the years, a lot of the business really taking DDoS protection as a package, like an insurance package, but the impact can be quite big depending on the target. And take an example, financial industry is our banking, and think about all of the customers that have a payment due today, and suddenly the online system is not available to them, and they will not be able to process the payment until the next date when the service is recovered. And this can incur like interest rates on the customer side, and bank has to spend a lot of resources to recover from all the complaints, and due to their banking system is unavailable, and therefore all the payment cannot go through, and they have to spend a lot of resources to address all those complaints. And for education, nowadays, we no longer rely only on paper and the whiteboard anymore. And a lot of teachers and students, they are using Google Classroom to deliver the content to the students. If the school network is down due to DDoS attack, and they have to change their schedule on the spot, and it can create chaotic situations in the education systems. And also, government, we see impacts on, the custom services website, and there are a lot of trouble. There are a lot of goods need to be processed through the system. When it is unavailable, the delay and the impact and all the post-mortem services is enormous to those organizations. So the DDoS impact is always there. It's just how serious those organizations are, looking at the protection and availability of those services. And from service provider angle, definitely when network is unavailable, the impact is even bigger because the SLA breach and also customer complaints and all the services leveraging on the ISP network become unavailable. And therefore, service provider is at the front line of making sure that the network is available, and therefore any other customers that looking for more thorough DDoS protection on the application level can have those surgical protections towards their own applications. Okay, so that's my sharing. I pass back to you, Mandy.
Thank you, Vanessa. So clearly the impact didn't really much change, but it's still something that we cannot take lightly. Okay,
Definitely.
I mean, having our online presence, it elevates our brand. It has, or it builds our reputation towards our clients. No, so this is one thing that we really have to keep, and it's a make or break for us in the industry. Keep ourselves online, that's good. We put ourselves down, then we'll have a big problem, right? So with that said, for us in Nexusguard, our main goal is to ensure that our partners and our clients, they will not feel any of this downtime. They will not encounter any issues or the pains brought by DDoS attacks, regardless of the scale, regardless of the type. So with the impacts being said, can we hear from the team? What are the prominent DDoS attack incidents that we have heard globally, and what are those that we have experienced within Nexusguard? Vanessa?
Yeah, one of the prominent DDoS attack, I think in 2023, it will be the HTTP2 reset attack. And all the cloud provider, the major one, like the Google Cloud, AWS, CloudFront, including Cloudflare, they are all under the attack. And the symptom of those attacks is there's a huge amount of requests per second. And in Google Cloud, they experience the peak is at 398 million requests per second. This is the volume that we are, seeing. And so this type of attack is really can exhaust, including the providers and also the customers' resources, because it's such a high packet rate and request per second. And the attacker is kind of utilizing the one of the character of HTTP2. If the audience are unfamiliar with that, I can spend a bit time to explain that HTTP2 and versus the older one protocol HTTP 1.1. So in 2.0, the enhancement of that is to making the client to web server communication more efficient. How do they do so? Is between the client and the server, now they can establish a single TCP connection. Within that single TCP connection, the client is able to request many things within that single connection itself. So if the client is looking for a PDF and looking for a web page contents itself, they can submit those requests through that single TCP connection. In HTTP 1.1, the olden days, and the client has to initiate multiple TCP connection for everything that he is looking for from the web server. And because the enhancement of the HTTP 2.0 protocol, and in order to attack the web server, the attacker discovered that within this connection, when the client want to terminate one of the requests, they can terminate through a character called end stream, because within that TCP connection, there are multiple streams that the client can initiate. Each stream, they can send some requests over. If the client want to terminate that specific stream, he or she can just simply turn on the end stream flag, and that stream will be terminated. But on the client side, because the connection is still ongoing, that single stream will put the web server into a half-closed stage. And when the attacker send all those requests and quickly cancel it in a very fast pace, the server will not be able to handle the allocation and deallocation of that resources, and resulting in outage of those web server. So this is a prominent attack, and in fact, it's a 0-day attack that occurred in 2023. And to mitigate those type of attack, if you are using CleanPipe primary as a DDoS protection for your customer, then you will only have the up to application level is only on the protocol levels, but not the actual request, because there's no decryption of the request itself. And therefore, to mitigate that type of attack, you will have a bit of challenge. Probably I pass to Charles to talk about handling of this HTTP to reset the attack. And yeah, Charles, maybe
Okay.
you can give some insight on that.
All right. So first off is on CleanPipe and OP. We do have a L7 mitigation engine that can work on HTTP protocol. Again, that will be for the unencrypted stuff. You can mitigate it to a point. It's not perfect, but it can decrease the number of connections that are in there. For the open SSLs or for SSL connections, TLS, we can also limit the number of connections there. For application protection, that's the better way to go. It is not susceptible to the HTTP rapid reset. So if you're using the application protection, you just need to protect your backend IP, and you should be good, safe from it.
Okay, thank you for that, Charles. So, Nexusguard has not fell behind when it comes to being prepared on these attack types. So, as hopefully on our end, we would be ready. The technology has been updated, has been deployed on our end, and when the time comes, it just needs to be activated, and for sure, it's going to mitigate effectively. Now that we have heard from a global perspective, Norman, do you mind sharing what we have seen in the operations when it comes to some prominent attacks?
Sure, Mandy. Maybe I can share one from our one client from our AP service. So the attack was just last September, and this attack is special because at one point it almost reached 700 gig. So the attack is mainly volumetric. So it's a combination of TCP-based attack and UDP-based attack. So for TCP, we saw a SYN flood and ACK flood with big packets, while in UDP it's the NTP reflection. Mitigation wise, it's mostly automatic. A lot has been dropped by our TCP-based policies, especially TCP SYN authentication. Some of it is dropped by our AP firewall filter applied in our routers, especially the UDP and abnormal packet length TCP SYN. Human involvement is mostly route optimization or route engineering. The team did some fine tuning of the mitigation, but it's a bit minimal. It's more on to filter some more of the attack traffic. So this is because the profile has been provisioned well. It was set up so that the profile can handle this type of attack. So at least the team have less involvement in mitigation for this part. So yeah, that's for my sharing. Back to you, Mandy.
Okay, thank you, Normandy. One item that you did highlight was that it was properly set up. So, but anyway, before we go there, now that we have heard a bit of insight from our team, in terms of trends, impacts, and what is really happening on a global scene. So let's move forward and dive deeper in understanding the services and technologies of Nexusguard. So moving forward to provisioning. Okay, provisioning is one important item that everyone should be made aware of. Okay, so it is basically the alignment of the service, the detection, and the mitigation countermeasures so that we can protect effectively, like what Normandy was saying a while ago, so that we can protect effectively our end clients. So to further clarify on this, we would like to hear it from Charles. When it comes to provisioning or setting up a client, what are the things that we need to be mindful of? Would you mind sharing on this part, Charles?
Yeah, the first thing is you're going to want to be familiar with the service that you're protecting. Is it a server? Is it a web server? What kind of protocols are we dealing with? Is it a DNS server? Is it not a server? Is it just a client like an office? Is it enterprise or it's home users? It makes a big difference in how you're going to provision and how you're going to set it up. Okay. You're going to want to know kind of how is the traffic routing back to the end customer. If you're running a bastion device, you want to make sure that everything's going to be routing back from that mitigation device back to the customer. You're going to want to know if this is something that's going to need always on protection or if it's going to be okay with auto mitigation. For example, if it's like type or OP, you're going to be looking at auto mitigation. You might be looking at always on for a few people in there if they're always in there, but a lot of times for always on, you're going to want to be looking at something that's a TCP service. You're going to be looking at something like application protection. You're going to want to start out with pretty basic mitigation policies at first, and then tighten it up as you get more familiar with the service. You're going to want to make sure that you're compatible with it. For example, if you're running application protection, are they running API services on this? Is there going to be a lot of program traffic, or is this going to be a lot of browser and human traffic? Because that makes a difference in what type of authentication policies, if you're going to be using IP auth or if you're going to be using HTTP auth to be able to best protect this customer. And which, if you have some familiarity with if it's a web server, if you know where the APIs are going to be making the calls from, that's good to know as well, because then you can also customize it for that application. You'll usually want to start out with a monitor mode at the first, and just get a kind of while you get baselining done, and then you can start working on the detection modes, whether you're going to be using normal, rapid, smart, what's going to be the best there. A lot of times for a CP customer, you'll want to start out with normal mode before you go to smart, just because you can help train it up a little bit for the AI before you start moving to the smart. Also with normal mode, sometimes if you're just getting some of those initial false positives and things like that. It gives you a much better idea of what type of traffic you're protecting within there. Okay. You may need to then look at how you're going to group people up. Are you grouping them up by bandwidth? Are you grouping them up by the customer type? Do you need host profiles for OP or CP, or are you going to be looking at you know, how you're going to break out the domains and the IPs? When you get into application protection, again, if they're going to need to be able to look in the encrypted stuff, you're going to need their SSL certificates for them to upload them, so that you can be able to do the protection within even the encrypted traffic. A lot of times after you enable that, if they're doing application protection, then you're only going to be using the VIP after that, so they'll want to lock down the backend IP. Okay, so they'll want to make sure that only the snap pool or your IPs, if it's your Bastion device, are the only ones that are going to be allowed to go through. You'll want to make sure that there's no blocking from our IPs. I mean, you don't want to you just want to make sure that it's going to be allowed. So because a lot of traffic is going to be coming from our IPs that are more than normal. So if the customer end client has any mitigation devices or, you know, IDPs, IDSs or anything like that, it's good to know what's over there. You may want to look in whether you need to be able to be using bridge mode or offload mode for encryption. This basically means, for example, some people have some low CPU servers, so they may not be able to handle all the encrypted traffic, so they'll want you to offload all the SSL onto the VIP and then only run the unencrypted to the port 80 on the back end. Okay. Again, make sure the APIs, if they're in there, that they may not be fully compatible with the bot detection from the HTTP authentication mechanism. So you're going to maybe need to be looking at baselining the app to figure out how many connections it's looking for source, or how many user agents, things like that would be good to know. There may be some URLs you should never cache. Another good thing is if they're going to be always using SSL, HTTPS, then you may want to be looking at HSTS so that forces on the browser, once they visit it once, it's always going to encryption. Okay. For OP and CP, again, where the tunnels are coming back, are you going to be okay with the MTU size? If you are using GREs, you'll need to make sure that the routes back are correct for the paths. There's a lot of other things you're going to need to be worried about, like you're going to need to make sure that you get the LOAs if you're doing origin protection, so that you can route over. What's the path back to the customer? Yeah, you may need to also take some considerations. If you're doing it on your Bastion device, do you need to have, what are you going to do when the traffic gets too high? Are you going to auto swing them over for edge protection, or are you going to end up black holing the customer if they're exceeding the bandwidth that you're allowing them? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Charles, for sharing those information to us now. So in terms of the service deployment, right? It plays a major role. It plays a major role on how effective we would be when it comes to attack handling. Okay, and there is quite a lot of misconceptions when it comes to attack handling, right? So how about we hear it from our operations on what are the things that we need to take note when we are handling DDoS attacks? Normandy?
Sure, Randy. So for our team, what are we more focus on or monitoring is first is the attack events in our DDoS portal. This is the trigger point for the team to start the attack handling procedure. Here you can also see which is target IP and some information that can help you in handling the attacks. Another thing is our bandwidth monitoring. So here you can see if there's any traffic spike or abnormal spike coming into your network. This is an alternative way to detect an attack coming to your network, just in case there's no attack event that got triggered. For example, it's a carpet bombing attack, which is can be more harder to detect. So yeah, that is the one to look out for. Another is to check if there's any alerts in monitoring the devices, internal devices. So our team, for us, we have like a procedure whenever we detect uh, a warning on our internal devices, then we proceed with the necessary action, either recovery or escalation. Then for those on-demand client, we need to make sure that when there's an attack, that their prefix that is under attack is properly routed, and we need to ensure that there's no traffic leak that can bypass our mitigation during the event of the attack. Another is to check service impact for our team. We're also monitoring some of the domains or services of our client so that we can see if there's an impact when attack comes to them. So it's another way for a team to get alerted and to know that whatever we do, if it recovered the service or not. Next is to verify if the attack is fully mitigated and the mitigation policies that we apply is in effect. So one key factor here is to make sure that we're not over mitigating. So what I normally advise to the team is to compare the traffic during peacetime, and it should be on the same level of bandwidth after mitigation during attack time. Next, you can also try to gather logs for future references, just in case the attack is a bit complicated, and you and your team can study it further so that next time you will be more prepared on how to handle this. For time to time, I suggest that you guys also do check the ongoing attacks, because there are instances that the attack will change the pattern. So whatever policies you apply to handle the initial wave of the attack might not be able to handle the next wave of attack. So whenever you see the attack pass through, then try to do analysis once again, find the new pattern generated by the attacker, and apply the necessary countermeasures to mitigate the attack. And next is to check for any collateral damage. This is mainly for also like bandwidth monitoring. So you need to be wary of your RSP lines if something is congested, and do a proper route optimization if needed to ensure that there's no issues that will be encountered due to your line being unstable. Then lastly is client communication. So this is where you communicate with your clients all throughout the event, during the attack, and even after mitigation. You communicate to them, ask them if all is good after mitigation. And during the attack, when you apply a certain policy, you need to advise them as well. It's better if it's real time, so that when you apply the policy, you will know if it's causing impact to them, so you can fine-tune the mitigation policies. Mandy, back to you.
Okay, so there were quite a number of things that were raised in terms of attack passing through, fine-tuning of the mitigation, and it pretty much is clear that mitigation, if it is not handled effectively, or if it's not handled properly, this can possibly cause impact to the services of our clients. So the key to incident handling would be a number of things that all of us would need to be familiar with. Okay, maybe Normandy, do you want to expand further what are the key factors within our operations when we do incident handling?
Sure. So maybe I'll answer it in general because for incident, there are multiple reasons for incident. It can be internal, can be external. So main thing is we need to be aware of what is the scope of the issue. This is we get this by gathering as much information as we can. So for example, this one is reported by the client. So we need to gather information to the client. We need to ask the proper questions like source IPs, what is the error encountered, the time the issue get encountered, trace route, and so on. So this information will help us on next step, which is trying to isolate the issue. So aside from that, the team or our team, I always advise my team is to try to always reproduce the issue, see if they can validate what is reported. So after that, then they need to do analysis and find like a potential problem or where can they classify the issue so that they can trigger recovery options. So for recovery, it can be like a permanent solution or a temporary workaround. Some of it is out of our control because some incident is due to external parties. But for those that are within our control, then we need to push for permanent solution. So temporary workaround is really should be just temporary. So for incident also, we need to have like a defined SLA and OLA so that the team will know when it's time to escalate and they should be aware on the proper timing of handling such events. So one example is like escalation matrix. So you have your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The team that is handling the incident should know proper timing when to enable much senior members for the investigation. Then the same for attack handling, constant communication with the client is very important during the incident and after the resolution. So during the incident, we need to keep them updated on our findings and at the same time for other informations that we need to help us hasten our investigation. Then during the application of the workaround or the solution, it's more of confirmation to the client that all service is already back or recovered. Thank you. Mandy, back to you.
Okay, so to summarize, in terms of incident handling, I'll pick up or I'll start with communication, which plays a vital role in terms of us resolving the services of the client. And then in terms of applying a workaround first, if we can figure out something in terms of recovering the service, and then come up with a permanent solution after. So from operations side, it was pretty much highlighted in terms of how important the recovery is and in terms of time. Okay, so SLAs, those that we have committed to our clients and to our partners, this is one thing that we have been really conscious of for the past years. And we continue to live with that culture from an operational perspective. And I believe this is something that we will put ourselves in a very tight situation. But at the end of the day, if this will help our clients move forward with a better experience with us, then we will try our best to do things as it is. Okay, so these insights have been very helpful These questions have been frequently asked, and I think we need to move forward with the Q&As as questions start to pile up. So how about we start with the questions, and we will be assisted by Janice and Ken for the Q&A. Janice, Ken?
Hi, thank you, Mandy, for that. All right, so we do have quite a number of questions in the chat right now. So let's go with the first one. In general, okay, do we need to know, what do we need to know from the client prior to provisioning? Okay, so maybe this will be a question for Charles to answer.
What do we need to know for provisioning? Well, first off, are we provisioning clean pipe, origin protection, or AP? If we can, there's some things we might want to know going further after some of the stuff we discussed earlier about provisioning. Like you might want to know about the attack history. We need to know what kind of size they're dealing with. That makes a big difference in how you're going to set up a lot of times for being able to get things baselined. It's really good when once you do get the customer on there, what you're going to be doing is baselining the traffic. Getting it baseline in peacetime is really key for what you're gonna, when you're going through the provisioning stage. So that way you know what's their clean bandwidth, what are their average, what is their max, what do they usually swing for, when's their peak? Is it during certain times of the day? Do they get more traffic on weekends? Things like that. These are all things you can kind of learn under baselining, and that way you can be able to get in there where you can get the proper detection at a good rate, and get the false positives down, and get the and keep the false negatives to a medium, a minimum.
Okay, thank you, Charles. So next, let's look at the next question. Okay. All right. This will be interesting. We do have an audience asking, what kind of training does Nexusguard provide if I would like to learn more about DDoS protection? This will definitely be the area of Aurelia's profession. Aurelia, maybe you can share some insight for this.
Thank you for the question, Janice. I would like to introduce to you our Nexusguard Academy, which was established to offer cybersecurity courses to help enable communication service providers, or CSP, to become cybersecurity managed providers and individuals to become practitioners. Our training courses are specially crafted based on our years of experience in DDoS protection industry. And we aim to bridge the gap between people, process, and technology, which are the three main pillars of a successful cybersecurity operations. About DDoS protection specifically, we have a variety of courses such as the Nexusguard DDoS Solutions Fundamentals, or NDSF, Nexusguard Certified Security Associate, or NCSA, also Nexusguard Certified Security Specialist, or NCSS. And of course, there are many other courses available as well. You can check out our website or reach out to your assigned service manager for more information on this. Thank you. Back to you, Janice.
Thank you, Aurelia. How quickly can we deploy this solution so that we as an ISP can start selling protection to our customers?
We have the Bastion server set up for our partner, and how long is the process of allowing through the training and also the deployment, and how long does it take for the ISP to start selling DDoS protection? So this is another angle that is different from provisioning, clean pipe, origin protection, or application protection. So to answer from that angle is our general target is within 3 months, and the 3-month period is talking about once we have the contract signed and we have the solution, we need to have the solution discussed and finalized with the network team from the partner. And the solution is finalized, there will be the equipment being sent over for the setup. And once the equipment is set up, there will be a UAT. And meanwhile, there will be training provided to the sales team, pre-sales team, operation team, so they know how to sell such services, and they also know how to support the services using our platform. So this cycle, we are talking about a period of 3 months, and to have all this department enabled, the technology set it up. Yeah, so if partner having their own equipment purchase, and we no longer need to handle the logistic, and this portion definitely can reduce the project cycle, and the remaining project cycle can be reduced if the resources needed to set up the platform is provided by the partner on the spot. And on our configuration and UAT, we can reduce it to like 1 month or to 2 month range, depending on the resources arrangement. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that is able to answer the participant the question regarding selling the protection to the customer. What is our speed to the market? Yeah.
Yep, thank you, Vanessa, for the details. Next up, we have another question. For short burst attacks, okay. Earlier on, believe Charles shared about the on-prem appliances that we have. Can we know more on how this solution would help? Is it by optimizing the responses with more narrow down? Maybe Charles, you can elaborate more on this part.
Yeah, again, it's about BGP convergence. So when we're talking about if you're doing like edge protection or you're doing origin protection or something like that, it's best if you have the on-prem device, the Bastion device, because then you can mitigate it right away within your network and you don't have to worry about the BGP convergence, because BGP convergence can take a while. So even if you've detected it within a matter of seconds, you can, with the on-prem device, you can kick it, it can auto kick in the mitigation right away, and you can be dropping the attack near instantly. If you don't have an on-prem device, then you're going to have to wait for the detection to happen, which again, it may take a while. I mean, it may take seconds, but you're gonna have to wait till the net flow gets through and gets there, and then you're gonna have to wait for the BGP convergence so that the prefix swings over. Now, because it's a short burst, sometimes it can be a while before the next burst comes in. It could be hours. So on those, you might end up, if you're not doing an on-prem device, you may be having to look at keeping your traffic with the Nexusguard cloud for a longer period of time. And then you'll have to make sure that you're not going over your clean pipe or your, or over your clean bandwidth, so that you're with all within, you don't have any extra charges or anything like that going on. So yeah, if you do swing it through the cloud, there might be some extra latency. So if you can go with an on-prem device, it's always best for these short bursts.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Next up, what do you think about the trend of DDoS attack launch from mobile devices? Maybe Vanessa, you can share some details based on your experience.
Oh, sure. So, based on our report for the first half year of 2023, we are not seeing a significant contribution of attack coming from the mobile devices. It only contribute about 3.25%. And the attack, still majority of them coming from computers and servers. However, we are seeing a growing concern of the DDoS attacks, leveraging on IoT devices, including the webcam and surveillance cameras. And so some of the carpet bombing attack, we are spotting the attack from surveillance camera coming from Vietnam. So there is the growing risk from the IoT more than from the mobile devices itself.
I believe we do have several more questions coming in, but because of the timing, we will address the other questions separately. We will be posting our answers to our help center, and we will also have your technical team, your service team, to reach out to you for further clarifications. So I'll pass this back to Mandy. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Clearly, it has been a meaningful discussion with our esteemed partners and clients in the industry. So, sorry, in the technical industry. So, we hope that we were able to enlighten you further on how Nexusguard stands in the front line and serves as your trusted partner in mitigating DDoS attacks. The journey starting from zero to becoming a hero is not an easy task. But we do assure everyone that Nexusguard will be dedicated and true to its words, that we will be striving for greatness to ensure that each and every one of you will be protected and your services will be kept available against DDoS attacks. So please join us in being heroes in the field of network security. Now, to close, our industry in DDoS mitigation services is a continuous fast-paced evolution. So that's a given fact. That's what we have heard. And there is really a need to be on top of each DDoS attack. And this is where the key factors or the key foundations of people, process, and technology would need to be at the highest level. And us in Nexusguard, this is our commitment to each and every one of you, that we will always be there, ensuring that in your digital journey, we will be there to put or keep you online and have it as smooth as possible. Now, before we end the activity, we would like to thank everyone who is with us right now, especially those who participated and raised their questions to be addressed by our panelists. So from us in Nexusguard, we thank everyone and we wish everyone to be safe. Till our next online session. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.